I'm guessing that this is a normal day in Reykjavik. A little bit of blue sky, a lot of clouds, and a lot of wind. There's the same view we had last night with a lot choppier sea. Today's just going to be a walkabout. I'll go back and recreate much of that public walking tour I took yesterday, and then do some other places before I leave tomorrow on my 2-week drive about. This is the Reykjavik Sun Ship, a tribute to the Vikings, of course, by the sculptor as well as the community, I suspect. Some close-ups of this very pretty building, actually. And from a great distance behind me last night, it appeared that it is purposely not designed to be a square block. The top appeared to be a trapezoid or parallelogram that was not horizontal exactly. Now we're on the side facing the water, of course. Obviously there's an income disparity here. But the beautiful building with its various angles. And those curious shapes like scales of fish they're supposed to reflect. And the sun hits it at different times of the day with different effects. This is the front view of what is called Harpa. Don't know the meaning of the word. The view that most tourists see. Again, great interplay of angles and reflections. Particularly seen here in this corner. Next to it in this gaping hole is a story. Before the financial crisis, this was to become a bank. Believe it or not, it's a large complex size. But after the meltdown, the banks had no money, and apparently the Hyatt Hotel is going to be built here. Down there is the pylon system that will support the building, at least at the water's edge. I don't know if that steel breakwater there disappears. That's got to be a delicate operation, I would think, to get that positioned correctly in the line. Like mating a fighter jet with a tanker. Now the rammer has duplicate. Directly across the street, this construction hole will become a large commercial retail complex. They're not in Kansas anymore. This is the most popular hot dog stand in Reykjavik, principally because it has that tradition amongst tourists. But I have yet to find another, even though our guide implied they were everywhere. We're now down at the center of Old Town, not the original Old Town, but close to it. One thing you'll notice is at this intersection, for example, and elsewhere, there are very few stop signs and no police. They have 900 police in Iceland, but the joke is the only time you see them is on Instagram, i.e. they put their own photos on there. These are two basalt pillars, very much like you'd find a Devil's Post pile up at Mammoth Lakes in California. What they represent are the two logs from his original European home that Ingolfur something or other threw overboard, as the myth goes, and decreed that wherever these logs hit the shore, he would then live, and he was the first man theoretically to live and move to Iceland. The pipe that you see here is designed to enthrall the tourist by being a direct line from a thermal vent. It's not warm right now and it's not pumping out the steam it's supposed to, but that was the original point. Pillars are represented everywhere in Iceland with its Icelandic flag logo. Seen even in the manhole covers. Black building with white trim is one of the original buildings of Reykjavik along its main street and was basically the prime architectural form. Across the street, one can only imagine when and how this pump was used. Now we are about to ramble through the old section, original section of Reykjavik. Now, somewhere up in here we'll rediscover the location that was higher up of sod houses that were really the originals. This house dated 1852. It was just around 1850 that this corrugated houses had their greatest sway, principally because the Danish brought those materials. This is probably one of the rare structures made out of stone, particularly if it's residential. Blue is such a great color. And you notice quickly that this neighborhood is impinged, encroached on by the new and the modern. There's a small lane between streets. 1893. According to that little sign, apparently this tree won the Tree of the Year award this year. This is not to be laughed at when you realize that originally there were no trees in Iceland, apparently, until the Danes brought them. I question my last comment, even though I think that's what was implied or said yesterday on our tour, because the pollen from trees could blow on the wind and arrive here and somewhere find some kind of fertile soil, you'd think. The lace in this old design remind you of our old 18th century and 19th century homes. Now this stone is referred to as the elf stone because there's a tradition of mythology surrounding elves. But the story with this stone is that various kinds of huge machines, you can see the gouges that have been made by those machines, attempted to move the stone, always unsuccessful, not because the stone wouldn't move, but because the equipment broke down as soon as the attempts were made. That's the myth.